So you'll find those lists that are common in like US Today or Prince. Sir, get down. No, no. What? Hey everyone, welcome back to Grad Girl Rambles. It's Brianna here with a new video. So today I'm going to be talking about how to find programs to apply for grad school. It can be hard trying to figure out which programs you should apply to when you're looking at graduate programs. So I'm just going to share some of the things that I did to hopefully help some of you. So the first thing in looking for grad programs is determining what kind of programs you're looking for. So for me, I knew I always wanted to go into psychology. Which sect of psychology was always kind of up in the air, but once I landed on school psychology, it made it a little bit easier for me to research programs. And when I was looking for these programs, I had to decide, okay, do I want a master's? Do I want a specialist degree? Do I want a doctorate? Are you looking for some kind of certificate program? All of these options are really going to matter when you are doing these searches. So the first thing I would do is decide, okay, which degree am I looking to earn by the end of my program? So for me, I was going for my doctorate for school psychology, so I did a simple Google search. I searched school psychology PhD programs. Simple as that. And obviously you're going to get a lot of different results. Sometimes you'll get some direct links to specific programs, and a lot of the time you'll end up finding those ranking lists that are common in US News or Princeton Review of program rankings. And while it's not necessarily important to only look at programs on those lists, it's a good start. Usually those lists are like top 50 programs of da-da-da and blah blah blah. And I think starting there is a good jump off point. When you get those lists, you'll see, the 50 universities that are ranked. They give like a brief description of the degrees that are offered in those at those universities. Sometimes they'll have like tuition information. Sometimes they'll have like how long it takes to finish that program. But just scroll through there and kind of just like see what's up. And a lot of the times, if you do start on those ranking pages, obviously you only see however many universities or programs they ranked. But a lot of what I did was I would go to each of those websites, kind of see what the overall program was about, and then I would also look at the faculty and see where they got their degrees. So the programs that you're looking for are not always going to be those top ranked programs, and that's perfectly fine. But it's really helpful to also see where other people have gotten their degrees from, because it kind of widens the net of what you could be looking for. A lot of the times the programs you're searching for will have very similar program requirements or aims, but I think it's important to see if you're looking for a program that's more research based, you want to look for the faculty. What research are they doing? Are they doing research that interests you? Are they doing research that you could see yourself doing in the future? Is that something that you want to be involved in for the next 3 to 7 years of your life? If you're looking for programs with more of a practice focus, really take a good look at what the training looks like. What kind of practice settings are they preparing you for? Are you going to be working in schools? Are you going to be prepared to do private practice, work in a research lab, community settings, things like that? Those are things that you really want to look for. A really important part of looking for programs to apply to is the requirements. So when you're looking at these programs, you want to know, okay, what do I need to do to get into this program? Is it a certain GPA cutoff? Is it a certain GRE requirement? I don't like the GRE. Most people don't, but a lot of programs still require it. So if they require it and that's not something that you're willing to, pay for, study for, you might want to look elsewhere. A lot of programs are starting to waive the GRE requirement, especially after this past year being in this pandemic. A lot of programs are seeing that it's not really necessary to the admissions process all the time. Another important thing to look at when you're looking at these programs are student outcomes. So as I mentioned before, you want to know what the program is preparing you for. So for me, in a psychology program, I wanted to know, okay, This program, my specific program, is NASP approved and APA accredited, which means that when I'm done my program has already done like the minimum of being approved by NASP and accredited by APA. So I'm already a step ahead when it comes to getting my national certification for school psychology credential. And if I wanted to pursue licensure as a licensed psychologist, I have the APA requirements. I have that internship that's rolled into the program, and things like that. So then that reduces the number of things that I would need to do after graduating. So just kind of making sure that you have the as much as you can kind of rolled into that experience, I think is really important. When should you start looking for programs? I think generally from when I was looking, I remember seeing things that said like, oh, you should be looking like 6 months ahead. Honestly, I'm a very, I plan a lot, so I was probably looking a lot earlier than that. But 6 months ahead, I think, is a really good timeline. It gives you time to find the programs that you're interested in, to really narrow it down so that you're not applying to, 50 programs. It gives you a lot of time to write your admission materials, so your personal statements, statements of purpose, whatever they want to call it, any extra essays or writing samples that they might require. You need time to do that. And I think it really helps if you start that early. So most doctoral programs usually have their deadlines somewhere in December. And so 6 months before that would be around this time. It would be June. I think now would be a great time to start looking at some of those programs and talking to people. If there are people that you know who are in the fields that you're interested in, definitely try to reach out to them, see what their thoughts are. And I think also academic Twitter is a really great place to get some feedback, just information. There are a lot of people on there who are really open to speaking with prospective students about their experiences, and it's a really great opportunity there. Something else when you're looking at programs' websites, something that I didn't know was available to me when I was applying, were program handbooks. So the handbook basically has, all of the policies and procedures and blah, blah, blah of each program, but it also has the curriculum in it. Most programs will put the course curriculum sequence somewhere on the website, so it's easier to find. And some of them have kind of like a watered down version, and then it's kind of more robust in the handbook. So take a look at the courses that are offered to students, see which ones are required, and see if they have courses that align with your own interests. If you're looking for a program that has a focus on social justice and diversity, then you should expect to see courses that reflect that same mission in the program handbook. So just take a look at that. And as you start looking at these programs, you'll find that there is a lot of information, especially if you're looking for a program that is across many different universities and colleges. So it's important to keep track of what you're looking for. So I would say bare minimum, you should have the program, where it is, how long it takes on average to finish the program, kind of what their mission is. And I also made a blank version of the tracking sheet that I used. I took some of the columns out that were very specific to me, but I've linked it so that you can kind of see. You can use it if you want, or you can just kind of get an idea of what kind of things I thought were important to track when I was looking at programs. I kept a separate tab there was a tab for the schools that I was interested in. There was a tab for only for the schools that I was applying to, and then there was a separate tab so that I could calculate all of the money that I ended up having to spend for the whole application process. So feel free to use it. Let me know if it's helpful, but I will link that below. Something that I think is really important when you are applying to grad school is having people who can, look over your materials, who can kind of help you edit or things like that. Not everybody has that, and I understand that that is definitely a privilege to have people who are, familiar with the process to even help. But even if it's just, your parent, just like, they don't necessarily have to understand you know, if you're talking about your research, they don't necessarily have to understand what you're studying, but when they read your statement, does it make sense? Are your sentences awkward? I am very bad at writing awkward sentences, and people are like, that sounds weird. I'm like, well, it sounded right for me. So I, you know, usually just send it to a couple people. Sometimes they're in the field, sometimes they're not. So I had my parents look at it like, point blank, does this make sense to you? And then I also had a former research advisor who also wrote one of my letters of recommendation. She helped me a little bit with editing my statement, just taking a look at it, making sure that things made sense on her end as someone who also reads statements for admission, just making sure that things make sense in that way. But yeah, you can send it to a parent, a friend, anybody who can just take a look at it and kind of give any kind of feedback at all, I think is really great. Your first personal statement is usually not going to be the one that you submit. So getting this jump start on it early is probably a really good idea, so that when you do start to write these statements, you have some time to kind of look over it. So even if you end up being the only person reading your statements, write it, read it, walk away. If you have time, give it a couple days. If you really have time, give it like a week before you look at it again. You don't want to keep looking at it consistently and then you're not able to see the changes that you need to make. Something that I really like is the read aloud feature. Microsoft Word and probably other softwares have it, but the computer will read it to you. It's amazing how awkward your sentences sound when it's being read by a robot, and you do catch it. So even if you don't have that extra person who can do it, that's kind of like a second person. It's almost as if somebody literally is reading it back to you. I hope this was helpful in helping you kind of figure out where to start with applying to programs. I think this is helpful for any type of degree, in any field or degree level, so master's, doctorate, certification, things like that. My next video will be about letters of recommendation. So who should we be asking for our letters? How early should we be asking? Things like that. So I will catch y'all next time. Bye.